Welcome to Unfiltered Beertales. I am your host, Quentin, but you can call me Q. And on today's episode, we're going to talk about me. I'm going to make it all about me. We're going to talk about a little bit about me. But it's going to be a lot. Or is it going to be a little? I don't know. We're going to find out. But like always, grab your favorite beverage or whatever it is that you're doing. And let's get this going. As of right now, drinking a beautiful, crisp Poland Spring. Not a beer today. I know. A little different, but really want some water in me. So here we go. All right. So we're going to talk about how I found myself in high school. When I first started high school, I was lost. I had no idea what I was doing, where I was going, or really what my plans were, to be completely honest with you. I wanted to play sports, but my mother didn't want to sign the permission slip for me to basically be able to play sports that way if I got injured, whatever, that she wouldn't do anything wouldn't sue the school for any reasoning behind that. But I think it was honestly not until my sophomore year of high school that I did find myself, which is when I got into intro to engineering and when I was actually introduced into the technical side of theater. So how I came into intro to engineering is that I saw that the class liked the description of what the class was, and a couple of my friends wanted to do it as well. So I was like, fuck it. Why don't we all do it so we could stay together and be able to have the same classes as friends typically try to do, especially when you grow up from kindergarten all the way up to 8th grade and going into the same high school. So, with the intro to engineering class, it started off with the basic engineering side of stuff, like just the basic structures of things, more along the lines of the mathematical side of architecture, really, and how certain things work, like the wheel spinning, gear ratios, the integrity of the structures, and how things are designed, and like the formulas and the math behind it, and even the physics as well. Well, as the year started going on, there's a program that was at my high school called Skills USA. It's kind of like 4-H, but it's more on the side of, it's more like on the side for like trades related work, like welding, construction, mechanical, robotic, and that's what I got into. I got into robotics for Skills USA, which was really fun. And for the side of the theater aspect was I found that it was interesting to be a part of because I wanted to do something along the lines in theater, but I didn't want to be an actor. I wanted to learn the ins and the outs and the ropes of everything on the backside of stuff, behind the curtains, which you don't really see. So when I had talked to the technical director there, she was like, well, the only open spot that we have currently right now is a light board operator. So controlling all the lights in the auditorium, any events that went on in the auditorium, like class assembly or anything that happened after school, like the dance recitals, the Christmas concerts for the music kids and everything else like that. So I was like, hell yeah, I'll give that a whirl. So she taught me how to run the light board, and then I took time on my own behalf to figure out how to program it so that way I can run certain light cues by simply going onto YouTube and Googling things on how to operate that light board. And I ended up falling in love with it to where I did it my sophomore, junior, and senior year of high school and did a couple of gigs for the school after I had graduated because they needed somebody, and they got a hold of me and they're like, hey, are you available this date to do this and be able to run the lights for the show? And I'm like, yeah, sure, not a problem, I can do that. So more back to the Skills USA, what we had to do was we had this competition that we had to go to, and we had to compete at state level and then national level, where state level was everybody else in the same state as we are competing for first place to be able to go off to nationals, which you would compete against all the other state winners. So what it basically was is that each year there's a different challenge to it, is the best way to explain it. So like my first year, if I remember correctly, the first year which was my sophomore year, we had to build a robot that was going to be working in an apple orchard factory place. Like that we had to design the robot to be able to complete certain tasks and design it and build it all on our own from basically what was like an erector set, but on a little more high advanced side. So with it being in an apple orchard, there was like 3 different factories. There was an applesauce factory, there was an apple pie factory, and what was the other one? I think it was Apple Crisp was the other side of it, which basically was like the quote-unquote game that the different pieces that we had to be able to have a robot grab and move to certain areas is what was the objective. So it wasn't just like, okay, go pick up this cube and put it into area A. It was basically giving it a story behind it. Because the other factor of it was that while designing this robot, it was basically building a prototype for a factory, like, you know, the Amazon drones. Same concept, just for us high school students. So what I ended up doing for a part of my team, because it was, you could have 3 people on a team, your actual 2 competitors and then the alternate. My sophomore year, I was a competitor to where we had to draw out the blueprints on how to design it. So basically the instruction manual, had to write out the coding for it and everything, which I designed the coding and programmed the robot and figured out tracking for it so it could like sense lines in the arena, which was the quote unquote apple orchard factory facility. So by having to build basically this booklet of like, okay, this is everything that you need to know about this product. And then we also had to sell it to the judges as if this is why you should purchase our prototype, because of these key features and what it does and everything, and allow me to demonstrate what I can do within this time limit. Because we had a minute of manual operating time, which we controlled with the controller. Then there was the AI period where I built the code for that, for the robot to move on its own for a minute. So we only had 2 minutes worth of actual hands-on competing, and then the rest of it was basically a sales pitch, like in, you know, the episodes of Shark Tank, along those lines to the judges. Well, sophomore year we won, and then we went to we went out to a different state, which was in Kentucky, for nationals, which is where we competed against all the other finalists from their states in that division of robotics. And if I remember correctly, I think we were the only public high school out of, I think it was like 30 other schools, which were either technical schools or college. There's actually some college level people there as well, but we were the only public school, which means that we didn't have a lot of time to work on our robot, like collectively. I think throughout the week, the entire school week, I think we had 3 hours to be able to actually work on our robot, while all these other kids were able to have a set block time to work on their robots. And even with our first time ever doing it, we placed, I think it was 19 out of 30, 31, 32 other contestants, which was impressive. So we were all dumbfounded by it, and also like we could see the other competitions of what was going on once ours was done. And we even had like this big concert thing, thanking everybody for coming and like showing off like what had happened with with all the other competitions. And basically it was like how do I explain this? It was kind of like a concert, but it wasn't. It was like a big business meeting palooza kind of a thing. But it was seriously a shitload of fun. And we even got to be able to travel around while we were out of state down there in Kentucky, and be able to travel to, like, we went to a zoo or 2 of them, and we tried out some restaurants that we don't have around where I am, because we have absolutely nothing. At most we have is a McDonald's, Burger King, 99 and an Applebee's, and then some small local restaurants that aren't anything like big chain fancy, and like a couple of Chinese restaurants. And I think that's really all that we have for a food kind of profile for where I live. Oh, and a couple of pizza joints, obviously that, but like nothing big. Oh yeah, the only big one nearby is Domino's. We used to have a Pizza Hut, but then Domino's came into town, and then it was like, yep, goodbye Pizza Hut. And we're like, all right, cool, whatever. Now, how I got into the Skills USA program was because of my favorite teacher, who was the intro to engineering teacher. If it wasn't for him, I don't think I would have set foot into Skills USA whatsoever, because he was someone who I really looked up to and admired and saw as an inspiration to being like, if I play my cards right, I could be somewhat like him, successful, knowing all this vast knowledge of really amazing stuff with engineering, robotics, and even became the football coach for our high school team, which was really cool. And that was partially why I did want to play sports. But of course, Mama wouldn't sign the permission slip because foosball's the devil. If you get that reference, like the video, obviously. You got to if you get the reference. But he allowed us to... We even were allowed to go in there into the classroom when we were supposed to have a study hall, as long as our work was all caught up and our grades were fine. He allowed us to go in there even when he had another class going, and we went into the back lab where we could work on the robot and be able to sit. And I was able to sit at a computer next to his desk to work on my coding. So if I needed help, I could ask him right then and there. And it was just, he was just a big inspiration, and I could go to him and talk to him about anything. And it was just hands down amazing. And like some days, reminiscing on the old days, really do miss a lot of those moments in those classes. Now, we ended up making a new friend when we got into Skills USA. He was a foreign exchange student, and they were given a choice to not use their actual legal name, that they would have a quote-unquote nickname, so that way none of us American students wouldn't butcher the language or upset them or offend them or anything. And what was interesting is that for his quote-unquote nickname / American name, as they put it, he chose ramen, as in ramen noodles, which was completely crazy and kind of ironic because he was from China. So, but anyway, he had a good personality. He was funny. He had a hard time with English sometimes, so it was kind of funny to see him get kind of frustrated and trying to find his words, which he couldn't really find them most of the time, but still, it was pretty hilarious. And he was in a lot of physics and engineering classes, like in the other more advanced classes that were offered at the school. And right across from the hallway where we were doing the Skills USA was another favorite teacher of mine, and he was the physics teacher. And with our lunch periods, how it was set up is that like half of the lunch period was like for study hall, or you could go to a classroom and do an activity or something, and then the other half was actually dedicated to the lunchroom so you could eat lunch. So there was enough, spots for people to eat and enough for the cafeteria to get food ready and everything for all of his kids, because it was like, I think it was like overall a 500-700 population high school of students and faculty and staff, I believe. But anyway, so in the physics lab where we were, I ended up spending time coming up with a weird, crazy thing that I always wanted to try to do, because there was a 3D printer in there, and I wanted to 3D print a cane handle and to be able to make it into a sword, like the old canes that you could pull apart, and it would be like, oh yeah, you got a sword at the end of it. And which that was a lot of fun, but I never got to be able to finish it, and plus I wasn't allowed to actually attach the sword part to it, and I never got to that step, but I wasn't allowed to get to that point at school. I had to do it on my own time, but I was able to 3D print a cane handle and ended up getting a wooden dowel from the local hardware store, and was starting to make it and engrave it and everything and make it look cool. But then ended up getting busy with other classes, and I was kind of upset over that factor and never really did get to finish it. And even thinking about it now, I did lose it, and I have no idea where it is, but I don't know. Now, as my years progressed, and even in my junior year, I did Skills USA again, won states again, and went out to nationals, but that time I was the alternate, so I was able to sit in the back, in the shadows, outside of the arena, so I wasn't actually competing, but I still did the programming, and I put together the booklet and the sales pitch, so that way my team members could actually do a good sales pitch, because part of me growing up and finding myself throughout high school, I ended up with creating a more bubbly, charismatic way is the best way to put it. I'm saying way, way too many times. It almost sounds funny when you say way, 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 way. It almost sounds like a beat. Way, way. Anyway, again, that I got the booklet and everything ready for them. Big binder actually is really what it was, like a big 3-ring binder. Had the sales pitch laid out for them and everything, so it was almost like a script, and they had rehearsed it so they could actually sell it to the judges, and they actually did pretty well for 2 kids who were like really shy and didn't really have the best social skills. I mean, they did, but under pressure, like they got more choked up, where I was able to refocus everything and kind of get it back on track quicker. And like that was just kind of like how that was like my part in our friend group, is that more so the sides of the charismatic, and like even when we were younger, that going out to a restaurant, whatever, is that I typically place the order and even tried to flirt with the waitresses, whatever, to try to either lower the bill or something, or to make sure that our food came out good, and persuading them to give us like extra ketchup packets or anything else like that. But after my junior year, halfway through my junior year, took a film class and started to really like it. Was learning the side of, video editing and like how movies were made and everything, which has honestly ruined movies for me today, because I know what's going to happen in the next scene just based on how it was edited, how the shots were set up, and the color and the saturation and the contrast in each scene of like, okay, this is what's happening, and especially when the music picks up and like at what time and like everything, and who has the power over the scene, and like what's like supposed to be the one in control and the one that's supposed to be taking the shit. And but it's still, I not completely ruined it, but like I know what's about to happen next, not to a T, but pretty close. But it has also made the factor of like a lot of my favorite movies to enjoy rewatching, so that way I can see like either the mess ups or like little things being like, oh yeah, I see what they did there, this makes sense and everything, so I can focus more on the side of production side of movie making versus like the actual content and the story of what is going on in the movie. So I ended up doing that again my senior year. I didn't do Skills USA my senior year because we didn't want to do it again, and it was taking up too much of our time. So we were like, nah, we did 2 years, we did good, and if we do it for a third year, then we're probably not going to win, and then it's just going to be kind of bad. So let's stick to a 2-year winning streak. We're like, all right, so we did that, and then we took a film, the second level. I think we did like 2 or 3 tiers, levels, however you want to put it, of film class in our senior year. And we were all thinking that like, oh, well, maybe we'll go off to college and we'll go into the film industry. Well, that never panned out, and typically as what happens, friendships do fizzle out and everything. We start getting our own lives and figuring out what we're going to do. But essentially, all my friends, they went off to college. I didn't, because I had always worked all the way up through high school. Always wanted just to find a job, and was looking into going to college, but then was like, well, never really did have the best grades, so I wouldn't get good scholarships based on that. And also at the time being, I didn't want to be far away from my family in case something had happened, because I have a lot of older relatives in my family that were kind of eerie, didn't know which way they were going to go. It was almost basically like one foot in the grave and the other foot on a banana peel. Like, I'm not kidding you. So I ended up not going to college and ended up just working, and even to this day still working. But after seeing what had happened to some of the people who I was friends with in high school, and other people who I bumped into that I was more of acquaintances at high school, that after they had graduated from college, or they're about to, they're like, man, I wish I never went to college. This was kind of like a waste of my time. Wish I had done what you did, or even still just like take a gap year. And which, I mean, looking at it now, if anything I'd go to college for would either be a trade school, or I'd actually go to a college for business-related side of stuff like management, or even like marketing. Because I just viewed that like I wouldn't be honestly smart enough for college, and not be able to actually graduate and use that time wisely and all that money that I was spending. But I also was like, well, do I really want to be in, thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt from student loans before I even start my actual initial career that I want to actually have for life? I mean, even still to this day, I don't really know what I want as my career. I mean, for a year, I tried. Well, actually, I was more like for the season of fall, last year or the year before. I started up a car detailing business, and because I really did enjoy that, because one of my previous jobs is that I would detail the trucks over at the towing company that I worked for. I would detail my truck and some of the other trucks in the fleet, and I really did enjoy it. And sometimes would have to, clean out the cars, or even the owner of the company's vehicle, and do that. And some of the cars that we ended up sending to the scrapyard would take it apart and clean it up and everything, and then bring it to the scrapyard so we could fit a bunch of crap into it so we could get more for a bang of our buck. But anyway, so I fell in love with the whole factor of detailing cars, so I tried to do it on my own. It started out really good, then it started to fizzle away. Nobody was really coming back, so I was like, okay, well, I'll just keep trying to advertise it and spread the word, and nothing was really happening. And so since then, I haven't really had many clientele for that. And for the longest time, I've always thought about starting a podcast, and well, here we are. Because I have always had crazy nonsense thoughts, and even my old boss from my towing job can confirm that. And hopefully, actually, one of these days, him and I can get together and we can actually record an episode together, because it would be very entertaining for us and for you listeners out there. That seriously, I tell you what, there's some good stories between him and I that I won't share unless it's him and I talking about it. But hopefully one of these days we can get together and do that. But finding myself, geez, everybody does that in high school. I just never truly took the time to look into myself to figure out what I want. But I mean, you never know what's going to happen. And after that, I just basically was like, well, I'm just going to work and save money and go from there. Honestly, there's not much more that you can do if you're undeciding. Okay, just find a job that you don't love but you don't hate, that you can easily kind of get out of if you need to, but also with good pay and benefits to keep yourself afloat and living, and be able to figure out okay, well, I would really like to, say you wanted to start up a business. Well, you really can't do that if you only have so little money, especially after all your bills. So it's okay, so just basically start saving money, work hard now, and then relax later. So it's what I'm just trying to figure out. It's okay, just going to work hard now, save money, and then be able to relax more when I'm older. Even though people should say, they're oh, well, you're in your 20s, you should live it up, and you don't need to be working all the time. And it's yeah, but this is the time where I can work hard, sleep less, and it won't really affect me while I get into my, my 30s, my 40s, my 50s, and before retirement. You can't really do that. So I would rather play the safe game and be okay, cool, I'm going to bust ass now, save up that dollar. I don't know why I said that. Save up that money, and then be able to relax when I'm older. And then I can do whatever the fuck I want and spend however I want to spend my money, If I could go back to high school and start it over again, the only thing that I would change is that I would actually make myself focus on the schoolwork, so that way, hopefully, that I could have actually gotten some scholarships to go to a college for something of business or marketing related, so that way I could have that in my back pocket and be able to go somewhere and be hey, yeah, I have this experience, have this degree in business management. I see you have an open position for this, that it's a 9-to-5 job, Monday through Friday, sitting at a desk and making sure that things are going efficiently. I'm the man for the job. And I'll tell you why. Because I went to college. No. But you get what I'm saying. So that would be the only thing that I would change. I wouldn't change the classes that I took. I wouldn't change the friendships that I made and lost. All those memories are still there. And even the theater and Skills USA for the robotics, I would have still stuck with that. Oh, and even with the theater, we did do some competitions with that, which that was pretty freaking fun. That even still for that, all I did was the lights and had to bring out the coding from the light board from when I had programmed all the cues and being okay, these are my light cues, get them into your light board, this is what's going to happen. So that way, because they had more professional level light boarding and soundboarding systems there, and they had the people operate it, were us techies, who, my buddy and I, who did the light and sound, he did the sound, I did the lights. We weren't allowed to touch the boards because it was a part of the competition program, so we were just okay, well, here's what you need, you plug it in and press this button, and you're good to go. Which is what they did and everything, and I mean, they did good with it, while the actors did their thing on stage, and then the techies backstage they did what they had to do behind, changing the scenes, bringing props out and everything else like that, and moving the scenery and all that other fun jazz. But we ended up traveling to a couple of places and even getting hotels and going to, I can't remember the terminology, but I know it was like some competitions for theater, and that was a lot of fun. Met a lot of cool people doing that too. I mean, I've lost touch with them, but still, it was an amazing adventure. And I'm glad that I took that opportunity to do those things, because if I had never done it, then I wouldn't have any kind of stories or anything cool and interesting to, one, remember about from high school, and to be able to tell anybody, like this podcast, Unfiltered Beertales. Here we are, getting drunk. Well, I'm not getting drunk tonight, but I'm going to stay hydrated. We're getting really hydrated and talking without a filter. Best part about this podcast, at least in my opinion. But yeah, I don't know. If I could, like everybody says, like if you had that wish to start over, would you do anything differently? I don't. The only thing, like I said, that I would do differently is focus, yeah, exactly right there. Look at that, focus better on school. I would focus my time more towards the schoolwork and make myself more efficient on actually doing what was required of me of school, instead of just flying below the radar and getting by literally the fucking skin of my ass. But you live and you learn. And now, where I'm at, I mean, I can't complain where I'm at. I don't think so. I mean, I'm still breathing. Trying to start a podcast. And also had started, well, actually the recording of this, the episode of that Let's Play just went up the other day, but then again, it did. Yeah, it went up yesterday, if my thinking is correct. Yes, it did. Or was it the day before? Or was it today? I don't know, the recording of this episode, but this episode isn't coming out until freaking January, or even actually, I think the beginning of, good Lord, when is it coming out? Episode 2 is coming out on the 27th. This episode, which is episode 3, is coming out, hey, that's funny, on February 3rd. So yeah, actually, yeah, this is probably the bad time to advertise for a Let's Play, for a new series that's going on, because the podcasts are going to be released every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right? EST, yeah, Eastern Standard Time. That's right. But, like, seriously, do we ever find ourselves, or is it just like, okay, I'm just going to keep chugging, I'm just going to keep working, I don't really give a fuck? Like, honestly. If you think you've truly found your way, and you know where you're headed in this life, feel free. Comment down below. Get a hold of me over there on Twitter. Just, if you have, that's amazing. If you have a story, go ahead, share it with us. If you have ideas of what you would like to be for a topic discussed, or even if you have your own crazy thoughts or something interesting you want to hear or look into and want to hear me talk about or whatever, then by all means, comment below. Get a hold of me on Twitter. Whether tweet at me, message me. I think that's how that works. I'm not entirely sure, to be honest with you, but yeah. I mean, I'm all ears. And I would really like to know if you guys have some crazy thoughts or even crazy stories. So please, 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 below down there in the comments, over on Twitter, however you want to do it, out of those two spots as of right now, because I don't have anything else set up for you to be able to get up to reach out to me. Oh, I think, no, yeah, that's the only two ways. But yeah, comment below if you got crazy stories or crazy thoughts that you thought were just crazy, and you're like, I ain't even going to say this out loud. Well, I can tell you what, I'm the guy you want to tell those crazy thoughts to, because if I find it interesting enough, that we're going to have a conversation one way or another about the thought train that is going to happen from those crazy thoughts. I'm dead serious. Again, seriously, crazy stories, thoughts, whatever, just those weird things, like, in the previous episode when we were discussing about the crazy thoughts of animals and how they think and feel and all this other stuff. If you have anything to add to any of that, go ahead and let me know over there on that episode or even on this one. By all means, I'm willing to hear any kind of crazy things that you may have to say, or even like the most craziest, stupid questions that you could ever think of. Trust me, I probably thinking of more crazier, stupider questions, honestly. And hopefully with either maybe the next episode or the episode after that, maybe episode 5 for the podcast is when I'm going to try to get my old boss, who's now my best bud, big brother. He's like a big brother to me to this point. Honestly, he really is. He's family. I love him to death. But anyway, episode 5, I'm going to try to figure out a way for him and I to record a podcast episode together, and that's going to mark for the 5th episode, and that's going to be the 2nd week of January. That's going to be, not January, February. So stay tuned for that one. Again, crazy stories, crazy thoughts, let me know. Comment down below. But as always, this has been Unfiltered Beer Tales. I am your host, Q. Have a good day.